Hello everyone, this is Donnie, aka Elevated with Dota Alchemy, and thank you for tuning in again today. Today's video is going to be somewhat different than normal, and I apologize if it's not necessarily what you're looking for from this channel. I understand if you give us a bunch of dislikes, and if I get personally flamed in the comment section below, but you know what, go ahead, do it. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section, and I will, make sure to read them just because that's what we do here. We interact with our community, and that's really, really important to us. But basically, I just wanted to talk about an experience that I had this morning, which is that I played some Dota, and my first game I won, and it went well, but it wasn't really that satisfying. And so I queued up for another game again, and it was just an absolute mess of a game. Like, just nobody was on the same page. Everybody was just completely feeding. It was just literally the ugliest game of Dota I've ever seen. And so I just abandoned it because I just didn't want to play it. And so then instead of leaving and doing something else and doing something productive, I went ahead and played a third game because I wanted to, get that MMR back. I got to be on the climb. I got to prove to myself and prove to you guys that I can be a top tier player so that you guys will listen to my advice and so that I can feel comfortable giving advice, because that's just my mentality, is that I have to, continually get better and better and better if I'm going to be teaching other people to get better at the game. And so in this third game, again, just complete shit show of a game, really terrible. My laning partner in the game was just frustrating to play with, but it's not necessarily on him. This is just a pub experience. This is what you sign up for when you queue for a pub. And so I actually ended up just throwing the game on purpose. I destroyed my items and I sat in the fountain until we lost. And that is something that I literally maybe have done once before in 10,000 games. So it's not something that I normally do, but it just it kind of shocked me that I was doing this because it's so rare of an occurrence. And then I just sat there and stared at my monitor for like 10 minutes, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my time? Is any of this worth it? What's the point? And so I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's pretty fucked up that a video game can make me feel like this. I think of myself as generally a pretty happy and positive person. And, it's just, that's obviously not something that I want to promote here on Dota Alchemy. I don't want to promote people throwing games and feeding and quitting and flaming their teammates. Like, that's the exact opposite of what Jenkins and I have been trying to build here. And what we have built with our community and on our Discord and everything. Everybody that we've interacted with through Dota Alchemy has generally been like pretty awesome. So the fact that somebody trying to promote that, is pulling this garbage is pretty stupid. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit. And frankly, I think it comes down to the fact that, number one, this is essentially 2 straight years plus, if I include my time with Pugna and before that, of basically just waking up and every single day, my job is to essentially play Dota and talk about Dota and make videos about Dota and edit stuff about Dota and think about Dota and read about Dota and research about Dota. And that's it. That's all I do for like literally 16 hours a day plus. I wake up, around 8 o'clock. I sit down at my computer probably around 8:30 or 9, and then it's Dota until about 8 o'clock or 9 at night. My wonderful girlfriend has been supportive of me in this endeavor of trying to work in esports and Dota, and we have our time together, but for the most part, it's just my life is Dota, and frankly, that's just not very healthy, is what I've come to realize. And so I think that this is something that maybe a lot of us who play a lot of Dota go through. And I think a lot of us play a lot of Dota because, number one, it's such a very high investment hobby. Like, you don't really get enjoyment out of the game until you've put in a significant amount of time. I mean, maybe you enjoy the process of learning, and if you do, then you probably get really good really fast, because if you enjoy the process of learning something, then you tend to actually invest yourself in it, and you don't really care about the results, and you accept the fact that you can grow in this space. But if you're someone like me who's been playing the game since the first map ever in Dota 1, I have done some casting recently. I analyze games constantly. All I do is think about this game. And so the process of learning has gotten really, really stale for me. I'll just admit it. Like, that's something that I've realized, is that it's rare for me to feel like I'm learning something in a game. And that is why I have been stuck in my climb of MMR. I go through these phases where I'm very positive and everything is great, and I'll gain like 600 or 700 MMR in like a week or 2 weeks. And then I'll kind of plateau, and I'll forget to enjoy the learning process and forget to like motivate myself with something outside of just the MMR gain or the next medal. And when that happens, I end up just kind of plateauing at a spot and then slowly declining. And I decline, it could be 5 or 6 or 1,000 MMR over the course of the next like 3 or 4 months. And that whole process is just so incredibly frustrating and depressing, to see yourself make this massive stride and be like, oh, okay, I understand this game and clearly I'm good at it. And then for the next 3 or 4 months, you're just like, do I actually suck? I don't know what's going on. Why can't I win anymore? I should just be crushing these games, because I was 2 days ago. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of the time, the reason that you're crushing the games is because you're fucking happy. It's because you're happy in your real life, and that makes you happy in the game, and that makes you more resilient to stress, and that makes you more resilient to having your teammates make mistakes and make mistakes yourself. And it makes you more resilient to being flamed. You just don't care because you're happy and you are confident in your own ability to do things. And if all you do is play Dota, and you play Dota with the need for that MMR gain or for that win, or you're expecting the game to be this perfect game and not a learning experience, then you are absolutely 100% making sure that you never progress. And that is what I have been doing for the last month and a half. Or maybe like the last month. I had a good week last week where I was gaining a lot of MMR and I felt everything was good. But then as I started to plateau again, because it was climbing back to where I had been at my peak and then plateauing and slowly declining for a couple of months, and then I all of a sudden shot back up there again. And I was like, oh, okay, this is all good. This is where I belong to be. This is where I deserve to be. These games are easy because I deserve to win them, because I'm better than the people that I'm playing with. And frankly, that is 100% bullshit, because where you are in the MMR system is exactly where you belong. And whether you have TI winning knowledge in your brain, it doesn't matter if you don't execute it in the game. And number 1, 2, and 3, these points that I'm trying to make is that you don't deserve anything. And I need to recognize this myself. I don't deserve to be a immortal player simply because I know a lot about the game. I have to actually win the pubs to get there. I have to actually deal with the pub environment to get there. You don't just become immortal because you know a lot about Dota or you have sick mechanics. If you tilt your face off, you will not be an immortal player. It's just plain and simple. If you throw games, you will not be an immortal player. If you blame your teammates, you will not be an immortal player. And it's really that simple. And if you are in a game where your team seems to have no clue what they're doing, you have to adapt to that situation. You have to be able to be like, well, this game is 100% on me because my team cannot coordinate. Or you need to be able to find that one teammate that you can coordinate with and work with them and try to build something. But if you don't have the patience to do that because you are just in it to get as much MMR as quickly as possible, like an hourly MMR rate, because your only motivation is to rank up and get that next MMR, get the 5K, get the 6K, get the 4K, whatever is motivating you. If that is your only motivation for playing the game, then you will never get there. And, that's just something that I think, something that I personally need to realize and something that I wanted to share because I feel like that is what drives so much of the toxicity and just awful community that we sometimes have in Dota. It's just the fact that everybody's in it because they feel like they deserve more than they have. They feel like they deserve a good game of Dota instead of just appreciating the fact that they're playing this amazing game called Dota 2. And the fact of the matter is, you will never get a professional level game unless you are a professional player. So don't expect that from your pubs. And if you expect that from your pubs, you are going to be continually disappointed. And if you're continually disappointed, you're going to become jaded and toxic, and you're going to start hating your teammates and resenting the fact that they don't play perfectly. And that's easier than accepting that you're not playing perfectly. And if you start seeing that you're not playing perfectly, you're going to start resenting yourself and your play and your time spent in this game. And once you get there, suddenly you get what is called the term that we've coined, Dota depression, which is what I am currently experiencing, which is that you play Dota because you feel like you have to progress, but you really, really just don't want to touch the game. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to play it. But you have to, because you have to get that justification. You have to get the validation of winning a game. You have to get to the point where you will get those good games. But guess what? They're never coming. They're never, ever going to be professional games unless you are a pro player. So that motivation is completely irrelevant and completely false for that matter. So either you enjoy the game and whatever the game gives you, again, that could literally be 4 complete bots of teammates who have no coordination and no idea what they're doing, and you have to lead them from the first second of the game until minute 70. And that's how you win. But guess what? You won the game. And every step along the way, you have to lead them there. Or you could queue into a game with 4 people who are happy with the roles that they got, and they're happy to give you whatever role you want, and you coordinate perfectly, and you stomp the game in 25 minutes. Sometimes that happens. It's complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but that's what you get when you queue for a game with the matchmaking client of Dota 2, and that's just how it is. And if that's not something that you're down for, then don't play the game. That's what I need to do currently, because I am not patient enough to lead my team, and I'm not patient enough to adapt to my team doing other stuff and doing inefficient stuff. And sometimes it's almost like the burden of knowledge. If you study the game, if you take the game seriously, then you're going to see more and more mistakes from your teammates. But you're probably also going to be missing a lot of mistakes that you are making currently as well. So it really goes both ways. If you know a lot about the game, you should be able to fix your problems. And if you're not fixing your problems and winning consistently, then you're probably not focusing on the right thing. So watch some fucking replays. Stop blaming your teammates. Stop getting pissed at the fact that the games aren't perfect. And just play the game. And if that doesn't get you off, if that's not enough for you, then maybe you should consider doing something else. And so I just wanted to say, I apologize, first of all, to the teammates that were in that game that I threw, because it was total bullshit. I ruined their experience. I wasted 30, 40 minutes of their time, and that's something I hate having happen to me. Today, I completely just lost it, and I was not, I was not capable of handling the game emotionally, and so I really shouldn't have just played the game. It's that simple. So, I apologize for that, and frankly, it's just something that there really is no excuse for, because if you don't have the self-control to realize that you're not in a good mind state to play the game, then you are definitely going to ruin the game for your teammates. So it's really just about developing some self-awareness and checking in with your mental state. Do I feel comfortable dealing with anything when I queue up for this pub? And if the answer is no, then you are leaving yourself open to get tilted and have a less than enjoyable experience. But if you are in it because you just simply enjoy playing the game, controlling your hero, solving the individual unique problem that is this current game of Dota, and that's why we love this game, because every game is different, because there's 10 billion different decisions that every single person has to make throughout an entire game, and any one of them could change the course of it. And you have to react to that. And so if you have a teammate who's feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding, that's just part of the game. You got to just treat them like they are just having a bad game, or they're just not quite as good as the other team. And so you have to pick up the slack for them. And sometimes it's just too hard to deal with. And that's when you got to step away. So that's all I really wanted to say, guys, is that, you know, sometimes you just get burnt out. And you got to do something else. And I guess thanks for watching. See you in another video. And when I'm feeling a little bit more positive and motivated, try and come up with something a little bit more positive and motivating to say. All right. See you next time.